In this video, I'm going to show you a few different things that we can do with HTML real quick that are part of this week. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? All right, so what we've done in the previous video is we created our template. Now what we're going to do is actually create our first web page that is useful. So here's how we do it. The first thing that I need to do is to open up a new file, a new document, and I'm going to go ahead and copy all the information from my template into it. Here's something that you can actually do, which is called an attribute. What an attribute is it's a way to provide additional information about the page or the titles or the language, all kinds of different attributes that are available to us. And there is a resource actually on W3 Schools where you can look at all the possibilities of attributes, but I'm only going to cover a couple of very basic ones this week. The first attribute that we need to be aware of is right under doc type. And when we open up our HTML tag, one of the attributes that's commonly used is putting in your language. In this case, for this course, our language is EN-US. And what that does is that just tells your web browser that the default language that it is to display is English. This is not a required attribute, but it does come in handy. I'm basically just showing you the available attributes that we do have. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save my file, and I'm going to call this file sample page. The next thing that I'm going to do is give us a title, and I'm going to call this title sample page. I'm going to set up an H2 size heading in the body section, and I'm just going to type in welcome to web page development. Then I'm going to type in a paragraph that just says, "Hi, nice to have you here. Welcome to the course." Okay, those are my first couple of things. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save my file. I'm going to go to my web browser, and I'm going to open up the file. And what you'll see is a page, basically. It says, "Welcome to web page development," with an H2 size heading, and then it says, "Hi, nice to have you here. Welcome to the course." At the very top of my browser window, what you'll see is the title, which says sample page. Okay. All right. What we can do is another attribute that's very common is what's called the title attribute. Okay. And how this works is all I have to do is on my paragraph tag or anywhere that I want to put this title, and for the most part they're inside of paragraphs, all I do is put in the attribute, and this attribute's name is title. And what I'm going to do is just say something like this. I'm just going to type in that its title is course intro. Okay. And let's see here if I can do a word wrap. All right, not going to worry about it. Okay, so I'm going to save my file again. Refresh. Now, if I hover over this paragraph, what it's going to show, and you can see it right down here when I hover right underneath my cursor, trying to get it there, it says course intro, and that's the title of that paragraph. That's very popular. Another type of attribute that we have is inside of a link. Okay? I'm going to link to Google, and I'm going to give it a title of Google. All right, let's go ahead and do that real quick. So underneath my paragraph, I'm going to put in another paragraph, and I'm going to put in an A tag, and its attribute is called href. And href is the website or file or whatever it is that I'm linking to. In this case, I'm going to link to Google. So that link is http://google.com. I'm going to close out the open tag, and then I'm going to type in whatever the name of that link is. In this case, it's Google. And then close out the A tag, put in a closing tag, and I'm going to save it, my file, go run it again, and you'll see now that there's a link to Google, and if I click on it, it indeed goes to Google. Right? I'm going to click back to go back to my web page that I'm working on. All right. I have a file that I'm going to copy over real quick to this web page development folder. Go grab it. Let's copy that. Copy. And my documents, web page development. I'm going to create a new folder called images. Inside images, I'm going to paste my item, and it's called Trout Lake. It's a very pretty picture of a lake at, I believe it's Yellowstone National Park. It's very pretty. I like it a lot. All right, now I right-clicked on this image, and this is an OS X Windows, a little bit different. But what I'm doing is I'm looking for the dimensions of the image here, and its standard dimensions are 640 by 427. I'm going to go ahead and copy that information because I'm going to use it here in a second. All right, I'm going to create a new paragraph in my code here, and I'm going to give it the image tag, and its source is images / you always need that, so you have your folder or directory, whatever you want to call it, / and then whatever your file name is. In this case, it's Trout Lake dot, I believe it's a JPEG. Pretty sure. All right, I'm going to save or close out my paragraph. Save my file. Render it. Okay, I have this huge image, right? It's such a pretty place. That's in Yellowstone. I did not take this picture, but I've been to this location. It's extremely pretty. It's probably one of the prettiest places I've ever been. Okay, but anyways, that picture is big, right? So one of the attributes that we have for image is that we can set our width and our height, or both. So I'm going to say width equals, I'm going to paste the dimensions that I originally had. So let's go with half of what we normally would with our width. Okay, I'm going to say that I want my width to be 320 and my height to be approximately what I would have had. So let's say 213. That's close enough. Okay, so I'm setting my width and my height. And if you, by the way, too, a little quick and dirty trick is that you can just set your width, or you can set it to percentage or whatever, and it'll automatically set your height. But that's not really good code, so we're not going to do that. All right. Anyways, I set my width and my height, and what you'll see is that it is resized the picture. Now, here's a tip from your Uncle Todd. When you when you have a image that you want to resize, don't resize it this way, because what happens is people still download this huge image. So what you see on some websites, and it's very irritating, is you go to load it and it takes forever to load, and you're like, what in the heck is going on? Well, when you look at these images, what somebody's doing is they're downloading these huge images, right? And this one's actually not very big. Some of them are gigantic. but then they're telling the web browser to only show it in this size. So you're downloading this huge file. It takes up all this space and all this time. And if you're on a mobile device and you're using like LTE connectivity, it sucks down your data like crazy, and you eat up your data plan when all they had to do was just resize the actual image to be a smaller size. And then if you went to like click on it or whatever, maybe you could download a bigger size. Anyways, it's a pet peeve. So I'm just showing you some attributes that you can use, but normally what you would do is you would actually make that image the size where most people would be able to see it. And we're talking about mobile design. We'll automatically resize this image a little bit anyways, but you don't want a giant image on your web page. Okay. So that's one thing when you're submitting stuff. If I see that you have this huge image and that you're just displaying it in a small way like this, I'm going to ask you to resize your image. Okay. All right, so that's a size attribute. Now, when we're putting in images, another thing that we need to do, and this is great for accessibility, or if an image is missing, let's say somebody's blind and can't see your web page, or if something is missing, another attribute that we would put in would be alt. And this is alternative text. Okay, so if the image won't load, we'll type in a brief, very, 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 very brief description of the image. In this case, it'll be Trout Lake. And I can even say something like Trout Lake at Yellowstone. So it's more descriptive, but again, it's only 4 words. You don't want to put in a big story or something like that that's the alternative image, because if somebody hovers over that, it'll take too long to load. And if you have somebody who is blind and needs a screen reading program, then it's a giant mess. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and refresh my web browser, and then I'm going to hover over my image. And what you should see, let's make sure that that is loading. Okay. Let's make sure that what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna view my source code real quick and make sure that that all is there. That looks good. It does. Refresh my web page. Okay. Let's remove this image real quick. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rename this image and call it something like Trout Lake 2. Okay. Refresh my web page. And you should see that my alternative text shows up where it says Trout Lake at Yellowstone. Some browsers will, if you hover over that image, will tell you the alternative text, and some won't. Evidently, looks like Chrome doesn't do that. I haven't tested that in the latest versions because, frankly, it's really not all that important unless the image is gone or if you have a disability. All right. Here's a quick tip. When you're using attributes, make sure they're all lowercase. That's standard coding practice. You can get away with using uppercase attributes, but I would not do that. I would go lowercase on everything pretty much. For attributes, your elements and things like that should all be in lowercase unless the HTML5 standards specify that it should be in uppercase, and that is extremely rare. And the other thing that you should do, and you can, in HTML5 you don't have to put quotes around your attribute values. This is an attribute value. Let me pull this up. This is an attribute. This is its value. You'll see that there are quotes around this value. You can get away with not doing that, but you should. Okay, you should always do that. Now, here's the thing too. If you have a and this is a little more advanced, I guess. But anyways, if you have a value that has quotes in it, for example, the text for our title here, let's say that was course intro, right? But you wanted it in all quotes. What we would do is we put a single quote around those double quotes and save our file and run it. Okay. And then what you see here, right underneath where my cursor is, it says course intro and it's in quotes. But in order to see that, I should put single quotes around double quotes, or vice versa. Okay. And again, you can get away with not using quotes, but I want you to use them. They're standard practice. All right. So here's the thing. Looking at this, we have HTML elements, okay? That's what my doc type is, my HTML, my head, my paragraph, my heading. Those are all called elements. Our title attribute provides our additional tooltip type of information. In other words, maybe there's a description about what this paragraph does. Okay, so in this case, it's a description that says course information or course introduction. Okay, the href attribute provides us address information for links. Okay, inside of our a tag, this is where you use href almost all the time when you have an a tag. And it's just pointing out to somewhere on the internet or locally if we needed to. It's just pointing to somewhere, whatever file we want to open, whatever page we want to open, whatever we want to share. That's this href attribute. The width and height attributes in our images, they just tell us how wide do you want it in pixels. Okay, there are other things you can put in there too, but the most popular one are pixel sizes. Again, you don't want that to be a substitute for using proper properly sized image. That's important. And then our alt attribute, that provides additional information or text for screen reading programs. Okay, if you're taking this course, you have to keep in mind that not everybody that's viewing your webpage can see. There are all kinds of screen reading programs out there for people who are visually impaired. And so anytime we put in an image, we also put in alternative text. That's absolutely critical. Your text should be very descriptive, but concise. Maybe 10 words at the most. Okay, for example, Trout Lake at Yellowstone, 4 words. Very descriptive. What is it? It's Trout Lake at Yellowstone. Or maybe if you wanted to get a little more descriptive, you can say that it's a mountain lake at Trout Lake, which is a mountain lake at Yellowstone National Park. Okay? That would be pretty long, but still within the realm of being reasonable. What you don't want to put is, it's Trout Lake at Yellowstone National Park, which is this very beautiful lake that is absolutely clear, and there's a green meadow and mountains and forest behind the lake, and inside the lake, it's shimmering and totally reflective, and it's a sunny day, and yada, yada, yada. You don't want to go like that because it's going to take too long, and frankly, it takes away from the rest of the message of whatever content you're providing to your audience. So you have to be very careful with that. All right. So what you'll see in your HTML attributes page on W3 Schools is it gives you an alphabetical list of the most commonly used attributes. And I'm not going to go over them completely in this video because I want you to read that. So what you need to make sure that you do in the resources section is to click on the HTML attributes link and make sure that you read through it thoroughly. I've covered a lot of the information from that link in here today, but you'll want to make sure that you read through this stuff. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that this week we're just covering the absolute basics, and we're going to be covering a lot of this information over and over and over again, but going a little bit deeper each time. So if you feel a little overwhelmed right now, try not to, because remember, we're going to keep hitting this. Now, the last thing that I want to tell you in this video is to make sure that you are playing around with those examples in W3 Schools, where you can click here and to see the code in action. Make sure you are doing that. I can't stress that enough. What happens with courses like this is that I do have students who wait until the last day, don't try out any examples, and then submit a bunch of stuff. And then I have to turn around and grade it, and it gets to me and the code doesn't work, stuff isn't working, and it's hard for me to grade that and provide feedback properly. So make sure that you're taking the time and care to watch these videos and going through and practicing the code. Think of this as a math course, okay? In a math course, you have to practice. If you don't practice, it's very difficult to pass unless you innately know the material. And programming is the same way. So you'll want to make sure that you're in there doing what you need to do ahead of time prior to submission of things. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video. And what I'm going to do is create some more videos talking about headings and paragraphs, which I'll close out this week.